Hello YouTube. I was going to go through this video in a bit of detail, but actually I really don't think it's worth it. Um, After this morning's debate on Nathan Oakley's channel, where I showed some admittedly crude evidence using a tape measure that the cliffs at St Bees are indeed quite high. And that Anthony Riley's elevation when he took those videos was also higher above the sea level at the time than he has claimed. He's claimed them on the basis of Google Earth and using Ordnance Survey map data in conjunction with the efforts that I have made to measure those cliffs. We know clearly that he was considerably higher than Google Earth places him. Google Earth is known to have issues over measuring steep slopes accurately and getting elevations correct, and so it's hardly surprising. Anyway, following this little demonstration this morning and the fact that I got to make a little bit of chatter, Anthony Riley has got Nathan to let him have some airtime again, in which he calls me a liar and says that I lied repeatedly through this morning's discussion. Now, I didn't lie, and I may have made mistakes, and I will freely hold my hand up to any error that I have made. But in order to be accused of lying, I must be intentionally trying to deceive people. Now, Anthony claims in this video, I'm just going to come back a little bit, he claims that I lied when I made the claim that video shot of the wind farms from St Bees on the late afternoon of the 7th of January was shot from an elevation of around 40 feet. Now, I got that figure by looking at the location on an Ordnance Survey map, and then rather than taking just the elevation from the contour lines on the Ordnance Survey map, I made a correction factor for the fact that it was near high tide when we took the video, a little bit after high tide, but near to high tide, and not at a point when the sea would have been at or near to mean sea level, which is what the Ordnance Survey map reference uses. So I made that little correction. So instead of placing our camera height at 15 or 16 meters, I placed it at about 12.5 meters. I made it quite clear that this was an estimate. I made it quite clear what that estimate was based upon. And Anthony is now saying that that is a lie, that I have in some way lied by doing that. The basis for his claim that I have lied is that he has measured the height at the elevation at that point. Now, having looked through part of this video, the basis of his measurement is a measuring tape run down the cliff from a point that his friend was holding to a stick that he was holding, and taking a photograph of that position there, and then measuring the angle between the tape and an arbitrary horizontal line drawn across the picture. Now, anyone who has any kind of understanding of how simple trigonometry and the surveying techniques work will realize that this is an entirely inappropriate way of measuring and will not yield an accurate height. We have no idea whether this line is truly horizontal. What does with respect to the Earth, what does horizontal mean? It means perpendicular to a radius drawn from the center of the Earth to where that line is. If that line is perpendicular to that radius, then it is horizontal. Now, had Anthony placed a piece of wood between the bank and the stick that he's holding, and in some way fixed it, and placed a spirit level on that piece of wood and adjusted it so that the bubble in the spirit level was right in the middle, then he could have claimed that that stick was level, because the bubble is effectively providing the measure of whether that's perpendicular to the radius. Then, had he done that, we would at least have the horizontal. Then we have the issue of the angle itself of the tape measure. And unless the tape measure is absolutely rigid between the point at the top and the point at the bottom, and unless it is running exactly parallel to the slope of the bank that he is trying to measure, then the angle at which the tape measure is placed will not be an accurate angle with which to measure the elevation that we're talking about. He would have been better advised to have used some kind of theodolite app on his phone to measure an angle up to the point where Ranti was holding the stick. His friend Ranti was holding the stick, but he didn't do that. We also have absolutely no way of knowing whether this pole that he is holding is vertical or not, and that becomes something of an issue given the method that he has used to measure it. It wouldn't matter if he'd obtained a true horizontal using a spirit level, as I have already suggested. So we have a great inaccuracy in measuring this angle, and he claims that it is 20 degrees. The angle on that picture may be 20 degrees, but we have no idea whether that's the angle of the slope relative to a true level or true horizontal. So we have a big problem there. There's going to be a massive error margin. As far as I can make out, and I really couldn't bring myself to watch the whole of the tape, this measurement was performed once. And for any kind of accurate measurement, it needs to be performed multiple times. And the whole thing needs to be performed multiple times. So you measure the distance and measure the angle multiple times, and then take an average of the values that you get in order to get your best figure. But given the limitations of the method, even doing it multiple times would not have helped his accuracy very much. He makes an effort to allow for the height that this yellow pole is from the ground, but does not actually measure it, in spite of the fact that he has a measuring tape in his hand. Wouldn't have been too difficult to put a mark on the yellow stick and then measure the height using the tape measure. So we have to take his word for it that it's only a foot, and it looks to me like it could be more like 18 inches, which may not be a big difference, but it illustrates the lack of accuracy or precision taken in making this measurement. And finally, we then have to account for the difference in height between the base of the pole and the water level, which is some feet behind where he is standing holding the pole, and also some feet below where he is standing holding the pole. And we have no measure of that height at all, simply an assertion by Anthony that it's only 2 or 3 feet, but he'll say it's 6 feet to be nice to me, and then he later adds another 3 feet arbitrarily to make the claim that the most the tripod can have been above the level of the if I can get to a place where the tripod is, there we go. Most of the camera can have been above the level of the water was 29 feet. Now, I understand how difficult it is to make measurements such as this. That's why using Ordnance Survey is a very sensible thing to do. They have all the right kit, they have all the right knowledge, they have all the right experience, and every measurement they make can be cross-referenced to various other measurements, and a grid of triangulated heights can be compared and used, and the height pretty much guaranteed to be as accurate as it's possible to be. I'm not sure what Ordnance Survey claim as being their margin of error on elevations, but it's quite small. But even Ordnance Survey would probably accept that even if you could locate the precise point of a 15-meter contour line along this bank, it might not actually be at 15 meters above mean sea level. It might be some margin of error above or below that. But Ordnance Survey is going to be pretty accurate. Anthony Riley's method of measuring here is very obviously amateur. That's not a criticism of him. He's not a surveyor. The question is, why would he take an obviously amateur and inaccurate measurement that he has made and trust it above the measurements of the highly skilled surveyors who make Ordnance Survey maps? Furthermore, he is using this as a basis of claiming that I have lied. And yet there is no lie presented here. None at all. I've been clear that I based my estimate on the basis of Ordnance Survey data and tide height information gathered from the internet, from official sites that present that sort of data. Now, I don't claim that I've measured this, and I don't claim that it's absolutely accurate at all. In fact, I try to make it clear in the video that it is an estimate and exactly what the estimate is based upon. And therefore, to claim that I am lying, that I'm intentionally trying to deceive, is itself quite false. In effect, he is lying about me lying. Anthony has measured the height of that bank at 19.5 feet. In fact, he's measured the height to a bit above that bank to be 19.5 feet, because he's measured to the height of a pole, allegedly to compensate for the tripod. I don't dispute the measurement that he got. I accept the measurement that he got, and I say that in this particular video clip. But I also say that I have no issue with that particular measurement itself. It doesn't cause me to question the 40-foot estimate that I have come up with, because the method used is obviously not going to give an accurate answer, and therefore his margin of error may be many feet up or down. He doesn't provide accurate measurements for several parts, or at least two parts of that, and he provides no evidence that the tape measure angle is actually parallel to the angle of the slope at that point. So I'm basing my claim on Ordnance Survey map data, and I listen to his claim that he's measured it at the bank to be 20 feet, and I say, well, that could be right. And if the sea level below the bank was another 15 feet, then his measurement of 20 feet agrees with mine. If his measurement is not accurate, and in fact that height of that bank is 25 or 30 feet, then the amount by which the sea needs to be below the lower point is much less. And without Anthony's measurement being absolutely precise and therefore able to be trusted, I'm happy to stick with the Ordnance Survey map information. Now, if I go back to St Bees and I can be bothered, I may well actually try and make my own measurement of that bank and see if it agrees with what Anthony got. But I will accept that my measurement is far less accurate by comparison to the Ordnance Survey. Ordnance Survey is going to be accurate to within probably a few inches, a few centimeters, maybe even a few millimeters. My measurement is likely to be inaccurate by several meters because I don't have the tools to do it accurately. So the big question for me is, where is the lie, Anthony? What lie has been told here? I'm claiming a height of 40 feet based on actual data collected by experts. You're claiming a height of 29 feet based on an inaccurate measure of 20.5 feet and an arbitrary allocation of a further 8.5 feet to that, numbers just plucked out of the air. In what sense have you shown that I lied? I think I'll leave that there because I don't want this to be a long video and I've got other things to go and do. But I felt that I should make some kind of response.